All right, it is Conversation Monday again. This is a weekly thing I've started to do here, and you guys have seen him on the Three Guys Talking Ball podcast. But this is a more of a get to know you podcast. At some point, we will have Ethan on. This one got pushed up a little bit because of some other things that came up. So we got Grant joining us this week. Grant, how is it going?
I'm doing well. After this weekend, got the big dub in the Three Guys Talking Ball podcast bracket tournament challenge
Not
again.
really. I think I'm gonna amend the rules since I was my idea for to start the podcast. I'm going to change the rules that you have to have a Final Four team to be able to win it. I had a Final Four team, so therefore I get the steak dinner.
Well, that's all fun and games, but remember, I was the one who said Furman would beat Virginia. I was the one who said Pittsburgh would beat Iowa State. I was the one who said Arkansas was going to beat Kansas. I said Gonzaga would beat UCLA. So where I'm going with this is this. My Sweet 16 Elite 8, garbage. Hot garbage. But you know what? I risked it for the biscuit, like Bruce Arians always did in the early rounds, and it helped me win.
Yeah, well, you still did not have a Final Four team. I had a Final Four team. This is not a democracy. This is a
I
dictatorship.
did not know I was listening to Russian propaganda right now.
I'm like the chief czar of propaganda. Yeah. Have you not heard me saying that Michigan made it to the Sweet 16 in basketball?
At this point, I'm just refusing to listen to you and acknowledge that because it's so obscene and absurd. But you'd be a good lawyer. You're just going to pound something into the ground until your opponent gives up because they're just exhausted from dealing with you. And I'm at that point, so I'm done.
All right, there you go.
I'm done.
Exactly. So, yeah. Well, what was your? And we'll talk more on when we record and release it on Thursday. But what are some of your initial thoughts on the Sweet 16 Elite 8 weekend?
I thought it was a great weekend.
Yeah, not very often do we get three of the 4 Elite 8 games that were really, really good. And then usually you're lucky if you get one, but this one, nobody was beating UConn on Saturday night. That just was not going to happen. They were playing way too well. It wouldn't have even mattered if Timmy wasn't in foul trouble.
Yeah, they may have only lost.
UConn was just on a mission.
Lost by 15. But
yeah,
as sports fans, this is the kind of weekend that we crave. They were good games. They were entertaining, big time performances, and this is why you love March, with the schools that made it in there, the schools that let us down, some teams we thought that were going to do it and they fell flat on their face. But great weekend. You're not going to see me complaining at all.
No, it was good. Hopefully the Final Four games live up to that, but we're not here to discuss Final Four games. Or preview that. That'll be on our Thursday episode. But we're gonna learn about Grant Roscoe Caster. His middle name's not really Roscoe, but I just like to throw it in there. Learn what makes the guy tick, how he became as smart as he is, how he became a Chiefs fan, a Hawkeye fan, all that fun stuff. So Grant, where'd you grow up?
So real quick on the middle name part, whenever someone talks about this, I did have an opportunity once in my life to be named Daryl Eugene Caster III. So I could have been DC3, but with my dad being the good guy that he is, knowing that my mom had to go through all that physical trauma, carrying this child, he said, "Oh, Grant, I didn't care what your name was. Let your mother pick it out." So that's how we got the name Grant Joseph Caster. That's a fun fact Friday on a Monday, folks. So I always got to give my mom and dad a little trouble for that, because that would have been cool saying, "Hey, you're DC3." You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But to answer your first question, born and raised Mankato, Minnesota. Pride of the 507. My mom, she grew up just outside of Mankato, about 20 minutes away, in a small dairy farm in Janesville. And my dad moved up to Mankato in 1983.
The year my
and
parents got
he
married.
has not turned back since. So he will tell you he's lived most of his life now in the state of Minnesota, compared to the home state of Iowa where he grew up from. But with DC, you can take him out of Iowa, but you can't take Iowa out of him. And,
No, he's go
go
Hawks,
Hawks
Hawks
forever.
forever. I believe there was a brief time where your younger sister who went to Iowa State, he did not claim her. Is that
Yeah,
true, or is that just
it
some
was a rough
myth?
4 years. I'm not gonna lie. Um, I will say this. He being out of the state of Iowa for a while, he doesn't have that Iowa State rivalry. Um, that man does not like the Minnesota Golden Gophers.
So he's not going to be cheering for him in the Frozen Four in a couple of
No, he
weeks.
will not be. No,
Okay. Well, hopefully there is a team from Michigan that he can cheer for that his son's friend is very
oh,
fond of.
absolutely. And to that I say go blue. But
Well, they got
we
to
got
get there first. So by the time this is dropped, they'll know if they're in or not. But right now it's 0-0
yeah.
as
So
we record this.
hopefully Michigan gets a big dub and they're on their way to Tampa Bay. But yeah, like I said, born and raised in Mankato. Mankato West graduate, go Scarlets of 2012. It's hard to believe, man. I'll be coming up on 11 years already.
11
It doesn't
years.
feel right. I mean, I remember that graduation ceremony like it was yesterday, and graduation weekend where I had my graduation party Saturday afternoon. And even before then, on that Saturday, I probably went to 3 or 4 parties just because I wanted. That was what you had to do. Go by, say, hey, real quick, I got other things to do. People are blowing your phone up all the time. Hey, the address that you put on Facebook for your party got deleted. Where's your house again? Where can I get you to? All the people you're seeing, the hands you're shaking, the cards you're getting. Going to 5 or 6 parties on Sunday just doesn't feel like it should have been 11 hours ago. I mean, 11 years ago. I'm sorry. But yeah, just kind of again, that Mankato, southern Minnesota vibe where it's I wouldn't say it's blue collar, but it's middle class. You come in and it's not like we live in the richest neighborhood or anything like that. But one thing my mom and dad always taught me is, Grant, if you want something, you got to work for it and you got to get it. That's why they said your first job, hey, when you're 14, the local Hy-Vee's hiring. They need kids to push carts and bag groceries and, do the cleaning work nobody wants to do. Because if you want to, what do you do when you're 14? You go to the mall with your friends. You go to the movies. Um, if you want to start picking up golf, which is what I wanted to do at that time, they said, it'd be a good idea to go make a little money so then you can do these things and, maybe we'll pay for it, but then we pay you back. So, I said, it's hard to believe that I've, graduated high school 11 years ago. I've been working since I was 14. So I've been working full time, part time in some parts of my life for over half of it now, for the last 15 years now. And I think that's one thing that's always been instilled in me there is, if you want something, you got to put the work in to get it. And I think that was the best thing that ever happened to me, getting that job out of high school, because then I was able to value the dollar. I was able to start budgeting earlier. And when we got off to college and even adulthood, now I kind of had a head start on all these other kids because I had a job. I had a little bag saved up and I knew how important that was. So, Mankato was good to me, but happy to be living here in the Twin Cities now. Not sure I ever want to move back to Mankato, but Mankato will always be home.
You went from a blue collar to white collar. You're that elitist guy that thinks you're better than everybody now. How does that make you
Well.
feel?
On that note, Dylan, you got to remember this. I tell you this, bud. We, here on here on the we're on the east side of 494 here on the west side. If I was on the west side, I truly would be an elitist and I'd be better than everyone else. And I don't live in Edina, so I'm not, I'm not a
You're not a
cake eater.
cake eater.
I'm not better than everyone else with that. Sometimes feel like I fit in well in the cities here. And sometimes I'm like, oof, these people aren't for me. But no, I haven't gotten that vibe yet where I, puff my chest and look down on someone like I'm Fran McCaffrey. Maybe it's because I don't own my own property. I'm not a house owner yet, and
It's
that's
overrated.
what I was just being told because Alec just told me. the front door hasn't been able to lock for a while. It's because the door lock broke.
You broke it. You were at the gym,
Yeah,
and
I was
it's
too
just
strong.
too
And I
strong. You
snapped.
just
So
broke it off.
that broke. The air duct to our dryer, the exhaust, we got a new dryer. Well, that was full of lint and such. And believe it or not, folks, you should clean that out once more than every other 4 years.
Yeah, that is true. That
There's a
is
lot of dust and debris.
that I think you're supposed to. What do they say? They
6
say,
months.
yeah, it's like every 6 months. I think you're supposed, in theory,
Yeah.
supposed
So
to.
when we brought that out back and got the extension and cleaned that thing out, oh boy, there was lint and dust in there. We're lucky this house didn't burn down.
Have you ever seen the? So did you actually watch them pull the
Oh
lint
yeah.
out? Have you ever seen them pull that? It's incredible how much
Oh
is
yeah.
in there.
So what we did was we just we unscrewed it from the wall and we brought it out to the backyard and we had the drill at home and we put the extension on there with that brush that spins. So
Yep.
you're just kind of going down there almost like you're snaking out a toilet or a drain, and just not a
Also,
fun
not
thing
a
to
fun
do.
thing to do.
You're just seeing all this dust and debris come out of this, and you're like, how is this? There's this much stuff in our clothes. Like it didn't make any sense. And well, since this first exhaust was for the different dryer, the parts don't line up, and we can't reconnect it. So for about the last 3 months, we've been drying with no with no exhaust
No.
outside. So we're on pins and needles doing laundry, hoping this house doesn't burn down.
Yeah, can smell the carbon monoxide coming through while you're while the dryer's going.
I haven't ran a quote unquote normal dryer load in a while. It's been a lot of permanent press.
Yeah. Well, I think that's the
Yeah.
only way to do it. You don't have to
No,
iron
exactly.
then.
And then just all the other stuff that can break down in a house. Like a couple of years ago, we had a piece of copper downstairs that had a small hole in it, and it was the running water to the house, and the dehumidifier was full. So I took it out, went to the laundry room, and I was going to empty the dehumidifier, and I was like, "Why is this floor and carpet wet? What's that hissing noise?" So, and I look over, and there's this small bead of water. It sounds like this coming out of the copper pipe, and I'm like,
Not
"Oh
good.
no, that's not good." And of course, Alec is fishing. He's up in Detroit Lakes. He's 3 hours away. Halima, who was leaving us at the time, she's not here. So it's just me. So I followed the line and I followed the on off, and I'm like, all right, I'm going to turn this off. Turn it off. Water slowly goes down, and I don't hear the hissing noise. But I'm like, I got to find what water line this was for in this house. All right, go to the kitchen sink. All right, that works. Kitchen water fountain, filter, that still works. Okay, I think I might know what this goes to. Go to the bathroom sink. Shh, nothing. I'm like, I'm gonna try to flush. Nothing.
Oh.
Oh boy, we're in trouble now. When I go back downstairs,
Now, was this in your bathroom or was this
both
in
bathrooms.
Alex, like the master bedroom,
both.
or both? Oh,
But like I
oh
said, I'm
boy.
the only one here. So then go back downstairs, turn the water back on, go upstairs, verify. Yep, okay, so it is the water in the bathroom. Crap. I gotta go somewhere. So I call Ethan at the time and I said, hey, ridiculous request here, bud. Can I stay at your place tonight? He said, why is that? I told him what was going on, and he goes, oh yeah, you got to come over here. You can't do that. And I'm just glad I found out that water hose, that water line went to the bathroom and the toilets before we had a bigger issue on our hands, if you know what I'm saying.
No kidding. Oh yeah, that's the joys of
So
home
then,
owning.
luckily, we got that all figured out. The guy came out the next day. Life was good. But if that pole and that copper piece was bigger, we could have had a real wet basement. And then also, if the dehumidifier wasn't full and it would have kept running, there's no reason I would have went in that room. And I was actually getting ready to go to Caleb and Courtney's house to hang out with them on that Saturday. And God, I could have been gone for 6, 7, 8 hours, and then could have came home to 3 or 4 inches of water in the basement.
No
So to your
kidding.
point, circle back, Dylan. Being a homeowner might not be the best thing in the world, and that's not going to make me feel like the Twin Cities elitist. So when I get there, I will let you know.
Okay. Well, that's the thing about the world is it's a very it's very humbling. When you think you got something going, and then there's always some way that it's
But
gonna crap on you.
dude, I'm right there with you. For the first part of 2023, life is good. Work's going well. My employees are respecting me, feeling confident more and more each day. Got the respect from my boss. Life is good. Workouts are going well. I'm getting stronger each week, gaining muscle, losing body fat. People are starting to notice it. I'm thinking, hey, the world is my oyster. 29 is going to be a great year. And then, just like your check engine light in your car, not so fast. We got a torn meniscus.
The Lee Corso, not so fast, my friend.
Yeah.
So how did you tear your meniscus? I have yet to hear this
So,
story. No.
2 instances, and they're just two small, stupid instances. But so, story here. The weekend when Ethan bought that new couch.
Yep.
Me and him, we drove the big U-Haul van down to the Menards in Dundas because that's where it was, because they were taking his old couch to Hannah's parents' place, which is in Dundas.
Yep.
So we go drop the new couch off, pick the new one up. We're driving back. Another smooth moving story with Ethan. Life is good. But then no
No
car
cars were
towed at
towed
this
at this
point.
time.
Keys were not lost. Shoot, even the night before we went out, we bowled. We had a good time. It was a hell of a weekend. So we're bringing this new couch into his house, his apartment, and I'm walking backwards, which for some reason, whenever I move, whenever I'm on stairs, I'm always going backwards. It pisses me off. A
You're the
strong guy,
strong
so I'm
guy.
going.
You're the
Yep.
tall, strong guy. That's
So we're
that's
going
exactly how it
backwards, and
is.
then we get to a point where I think he needed to regrip, I needed to regrip, or we had to change the angle of the couch. So we drop it down a little bit. Let's say my left foot is on stair number 3, right foot is on stair number 2. I go down to squat and pick it up, and I feel a weird kind of sharp, not pain, but like, there's something there on the inside of my knee. Damn.
Was it a full tear, or was it a just a
So
partial?
they called it a complex tear. Essentially, it tore in the front, and there's a series of tears all throughout on the body and the posterior side of it. But the main tear was the anterior side. So I feel this weird sharp pain. I'm like, this is kind of annoying. We're on our way to X Golf, and I can feel it. There's something in there. I'm like, this knee doesn't feel right. But we go to X Golf, and I'm having a good time. I think nothing of it. We played at Augusta National, in air quotes. I'm feeling good, shooting like a 1 over for the simulator, which, hell, for a simulator, I'll take it. But it just kind of felt funny and felt weird. Um, Next day, go to the gym, still feel that weird pain. I can't fully extend it when I'm sitting on the couch. And I can even have like normally you bring your knee up to your chest. Even if I did that, that hurts. So I
Yep.
just kind of, rested it, took it easy. And then for the next 2 or 3 weeks, there was a small limp, but no one could really notice anything like that. And each day I took it easy. The pain and went away and went away and went away. And then, went to Florida, went on vacation there, felt nothing of it. Down there, golfing, walking on the beach, just walking out, getting some sun. I think, it's just a weird little tweak. Life is good. And then, I kid you not, about a month ago, I was just going down to squat to grab something, Dylan. And like I was playing catcher, I went and I squatted, I think, way too fast. And I felt something right away. My buddy at work saw my face change in grimace, and I had a hard time standing up. And it was right on that
Ooh.
inside part, and that's when I was like, okay, something bad happened here. Like, this hurts. And then I got, and then for about a day and a half, dude, I could not. My leg was probably always at like a 35-degree angle where my kneecap was over my toe, and I was just like, oh god, damn it, this hurts. So I went to urgent care the next day, and there was serious swelling. I had no flexion. I couldn't extend. I said the pain, on the inside of that medial part of my leg. And he said, yeah, we're going to get you set up for an MRI. Of course, I had to wait 2 weeks for that. So in the meantime, ibuprofen for the pain, icing it a little bit. Swelling goes down. The pain's not as bad. I have more flexion and extension in this knee. But, I go to the doctor and I tell him those same 2 or 3 stories. And the orthopedic, he says, well, Grant, I've done my 2 or 3 tests. We're going to get you an MRI. So went to the MRI machine, and first time seeing one of those, and that thing was kind of cool, intimidating at the same time.
Intimidating.
Like, they go down and they give me some those memory foam earplugs you see the landscape guys have, and then they put a headset on both of my ears, and they said, hey, Grant, what kind of music do you want to listen to for this next half hour? I'm like, music? All right, so I'm listening to some music. The radiologist, she's behind me, she's kind of talking in my ear saying, hey, this is gonna be loud for 4 minutes here. Oh, the next it's 8 minute cycle. And then got my results right away, and the orthopedic surgeon or orthopedic doctor said, yeah, Grant, you have what we feared. It's a complex meniscal tear of, wait for it, my anterior, posterior, and body part. So essentially, it's a tear within a tear. There's a big tear on the anterior part where my meniscus is up, and it's tucked behind like your thigh bone. It's literally standing up behind that in your knee. So just go.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be painful, especially like squatting and going up and down.
So,
Yeah, that would.
since the end of
Oh
January,
man.
really no squatting. And taking it easy so I'm not going too fast or anything like that. And talking with these doctors, they said, Grant, this could have been something that's been building up for 5 to 10 years, and just a couple of those small motions finally did it. And you hurt yourself there, and
Yeah.
I was just like, God, doggone it. But then also I had a little, little fluid buildup by the top part of the MCL, by the bones there. So hopefully, maybe they go in surgery and they can drain those out. But just, I think a combination of maybe squatting a little too far those couple times, and then maybe the golf, the twisting and the jerking of that,
Yeah, that would
and
do
then
it too. I
just
can
years
see.
of abuse. Playing football a lot, squatting, physical work. It just, your body breaks down, unfortunately. But luckily, you know, enough of that meniscus was kind of tucked underneath my thigh bone there, where there should be able to surgically go in there with the arthroscopic and pull it down underneath the bone and stitch it back together in 2 or 3 spots. So I'll have that cushion, for the rest of my life, as long as I do the rehab right, and I won't have to. This will severely lower my risk for arthritis as I get older. So
Okay, well, you're doing better
yep.
than
So I'll
Todd
take
Gurley
take
then.
that. They're not just
Um,
trimming it off and saying, "Oh, yep, go back in there." I'm gonna take my time with the rehab. I'm gonna do it right, so I don't have to deal with that.
okay, yeah. Well, you talked about playing football. What was your childhood like? What were you when you weren't in school or doing at your job? What were your hobbies? What were you doing for fun? You said you like golfing, you played football. What else was little Grant doing running around causing havoc
Oh
in
gosh, the
North
neighborhood. We
Mankato?
were we were notorious street hockey players, Dylan. I
Now, was it with your shoes or did you have
Oh, we
rollerblades
we
on
we we
playing it?
we played in our shoes, but we had
Okay.
two goalies had thigh pads on. We had the mask, the goalie glove, the goalie stick. No chest protector.
Were you playing with an actual puck or were you playing
Sometimes it
with
would
like
be
a
a
ball?
puck. Sometimes it'd be a tennis ball. Sometimes it'd be like one of those rubber pucks. Whatever we could find. And at the time,
Oh,
wasn't in a
okay.
neighbor's yard, because you're playing in the street. You got 7, 8 kids in the neighborhood, and then you got a car coming your way. Chinese fire drill. Everybody grab. Couple guys grab a net, get to one side of the road, let the cars go by, bring the nets back out, and then find some sort of ball or puck you can use to play with. Like I said, tennis ball, rubber hockey puck, rubber, kind of like a racquetball type, whatever you could find. just kind of get it. We'll play in the street, and then we'll remember, hey, this team, they had the puck. The score was here. Um, lot a lot of street hockey as a kid, and there was a couple of year stretch where I was playing a lot of goalie, and oh my god, I was on fire. I just big dude in net. I was playing in my head. Nothing could get past me. And it was it was a good time. And then gosh, I remember one story. A couple of my friends they were always kind of they had that weird childhood rivalry. They're they were competing back
Yep.
and
Yep.
forth. You're scoring a lot of goals when you're playing as a kid, and they got arguing over what the score of the game was. Let's say one thought it should have been 9-10, the other one thought it should have been 8-9.
So
Defense
defense
was
was
optional.
optional, and so I may have just you may have disproved your theory of that you were a hot goalie, or was this the
This is
times
when
you
I
weren't
wasn't.
playing goalie?
I was
Okay.
I was playing forward, and I had the hardest slap shot in the neighborhood, and I used that to my advantage.
There you
But
go.
they got arguing over the score of the game, and it's bringing everyone in the neighborhood down because we're pissed. We're like, hey, let's just go out and let's play. Let's have a good time. Well, 10-year-old, 12-year-old Grant, however old I was, I just lose my mind, and I take my stick, take it over my head, bash it on the ground. It breaks by the blade part, and I may have ran off crying, saying, "You guys are ruining the game. We can't have fun. Just get along." And then I think my parents bought me that stick like I think a couple months earlier, and they were like, "Grant, what happened? You broke this new street hockey stick we bought you." Just over some childish game where a couple friends were having an argument because that's what kids do when they're that age. Mhm.
Those were the days though. Those were those intense fun
Yep.
battles though too that you still talk about
Oh,
like we're
absolutely.
talking about now.
And then even
Um
in the summer, we'd get a bunch of us. We'd go to the local park, and we'd have like unorganized, organized baseball and softball games. Gosh, that
oh
was so
yeah.
much fun. And then also the park where we played baseball, in the left center there was a small dip in the grass, and that's where the local ice rink was in the winter. So the rule was if you ever
Okay.
hit it in the air and it landed in that kind of dip where the rink was, that was a home run because there was no fence
Ah.
at the local
Oh, I
park. So you had
suppose,
to
yeah.
determine where a home run would be. So
So if it like rolled over into the rink,
that
was
was a
that
ground.
considered a
That
ground
Yep,
rule
that was a
double
ground
or
rule
was it
double.
just go?
Yep.
Okay.
But if it flies in the air like it and it landed,
Yep.
that was a home run. So yeah, we
Okay. Okay. Now what was what team wise was it what like 5-on-5 or did you guys get like a good
I
number of
can't
people or
remember the
how many
exact
people were
number. We
playing
we
at this?
probably had a good amount of people. It was probably 8, 9, 10 guys on a team. Like
Oh wow,
we had a
good
full
do a
roster.
full
Like it was
roster.
kind of the neighborhood I lived in, the people that was by the park by us. It was like all of us in the same grade school or school program. The Monroe Elementary, Hoover Elementary, Dakota Meadows, Garfield kids, like who all lived in like this part of Upper North. So we just would kind of get together, and of course, your mode of transportation, everyone's getting on bikes. You got your
Yep.
18, 12-year olds on their bikes through the neighborhood, knocking on the door. Hey, is Ben home? Is Zach home? Is Jesse here? And you just
It was like that Nike
exactly.
snow day commercial.
Yeah, exactly. So just did a lot of that, and then just me and my sisters kind of just some organized sports in the summer. You're playing baseball 2 days a week. Um, Sister Miranda, she played softball. Sometimes that was 2 days in the week, and then maybe some occasional weekends. So we're just kind of doing anything and everything like that.
When did you first start playing football?
Oh, I played since I probably first or second grade, like at the local YMCA. Oh, tackle fourth grade
Tackle?
when they let me. But I was playing
Okay.
flag football through the YMCA program after grade one. I think that's just
Okay.
something I always wanted to be. because my dad loved the game, and my mom, she's like she said, she's been rooting for the Vikings for 50, 60 years of her life. So it's just, and my dad being a huge Iowa fan, the Kansas City fan that he is, he knows more about these past players, Len Dawson and Otis Taylor, than the new guys. But it's who they are. It's in their blood. And one of my first Halloween costumes was the Vikings Robert Smith uniform.
Oh, okay. I had
Yep.
a Vikings
I'm
Fran
pretty
Tarkenton
sure it was Robert
one.
Smith with that.
Okay.
And that's just kind of, I think, what I wanted to play, and I had so much fun playing it. Then I just, wanted to watch on TV with that, and that just kind of became who I was.
Was that your guys' Sunday tradition? Is wake up, watch football, or did you guys have anything special like that in the falls as far as football
So
watching
it's
goes,
kind of
or was that?
wake up, and if I had a game, at the flag football level or the youth tackle level, you go to that on Saturday mornings. You go to
I
that, and then
suppose.
you come home and you want to watch the games, and most of the time on Saturdays the Hawkeyes were on, and I wanted to be like Daddy, so watch the Hawks with him, and then I even got I think I got it up here. This he gave me this guy right here, this little Iowa football. I've had it since I was a kid, right there, and
Oh, got
the old
the
school
old
Iowa,
Iowa
just
logo too,
IOWA right there. Yeah.
the
So
block eye.
I had that, and like I said, just kind of wanted to be like Dad. So the Hawks were on, and then in during the fall, during the harvest season, my mom's brother and dad, they had a farm outside of Janesville, like I mentioned earlier. We'd go out there sometimes and be with them, and then just kind of when we were kids, maybe get in the combine with Grandpa and drive around with him, or if my uncle had to drive into town with the elevator, I'd get in the old manual, seed transportator, and drive into town with him and do that. So that was sometimes something we'd do in the fall. We'd go out there.
Well, do you have any good lessons or stories that you learned from sitting in the combine or going in the
Just the big thing,
grain truck?
my grandpa always told me, he's just be steady. Just be steady. You get a kid, you take a wheel of that combine, you're getting a little nervous. You're going a little too far left, a little too right. Grant, it was just simple. This is who my grandpa was. Just be steady. Just be steady. Be calm with it. With that, I really didn't learn anything driving with my uncle. That was more or less hearing this. Hey, you stupid son of a bitch, or goddamn piece of shit. He's just yanking and breaking things. So that's, I would say some lessons were learned there, but yeah, just kind of fun being out, being with family, and then my uncle, he always had a bunch of collies when he was growing up, so having going through 3 different versions of those dogs and how loyal they were, it was fun, being around them and just having a good time. And someplace, I think my mom's family's lived at that house or that property since like 1960. I
Oh
believe, I
wow.
think that was
Okay.
the year they bought that property and that farm.
Okay. But that's interesting that you say that because I'm guessing your uncle that was your
Mm-hmm.
grandpa's son. That's always funny because you see that a lot more where it's the grandpa on the farm. He's that calm. He's a lot more relaxed. He's seen a
Oh
lot
yeah.
more things. It's just he's just really enjoying trying to hang on to that enjoy his life
Yep.
as he knows it. Kind of has that different perspective where, and then you see the son who's very high strung,
Mm.
everything's not working, and then you look over because I'm sure it's happened a few times. You probably saw it a few times where there were disagreements or something, and or uh, your uncle was blowing up in front of your grandpa, and your grandpa just kind of sits there and laughs and's like, "Yep,
I've,
I've been in your spot. I
yep.
know how that goes."
Mm-hmm.
It's just, and I think that way, you said that be
Just that.
steady thing. I think that translates so much too to like to life too, where it's like You're gonna have
Oh, yeah.
ups, you're gonna have downs. Just try to keep that
You just kind
steadiness,
of
that level headedness, and yeah, like you said, ride it out. And knowing for as long as I've known you, you've been that way of not of
exactly.
being
And
steady.
when I kind of see my personality, I see a lot of my mom's dad, who's the grandpa I'm talking about here. He's just kind of calm, cool, collected, real reserved. I'm not going to be overly emotional when I'm, talking to people on the phone. It's not a, oh, hey, I love you. You got to talk soon. A gushy gushy, stuff like that. Um, that's just not me. I just kind, got that trait from him, and that's just kind of who I am. You're just kind of steady. You're and almost you're just like a flatliner for people around you. You're just calm, cool, but and everyone trusts you, and they know when he's not around, they're like, hey, we can trust this guy if we need him in a minute. And just kind of a fun story for you about my grandpa, my mom's dad. So we're kids, and I think by this time he was in his mid 80s. He moved into town into Janesville because he couldn't be on the farm anymore. We were visiting him over on a hot summer day, and we brought our family dog over. So Lizzie was over, and she's a little pup, this little golden retriever, and she's we're outside and we're hot. It's hot, and she's panting. She's laying at my grandpa's feet, and he's got gloves on his hands because she's got those sharp little puppy teeth, and he's on blood thinner, and he knew if her teeth got into his hands, he'd be bleeding all over the place. But as this dog keeps panting, he's drinking a Diet Coke, and he takes the Diet Coke and pours it on top of the dog's head, and he goes, "She looked a little hot. I had to cool her down." With the Diet Coke. So that was pretty funny. But yeah, like I said, I see myself a lot in him, just kind of the personality wise, and you're steady, you're hardworking, humble. I'm not going to say a lot. I'm not going to talk a lot to people. I'm just going to come in, be quiet. I'm going to work, and I'm going to move on. And if I do have some hard feelings towards people, I'm going to keep that. I'm going to keep that inside to me because I just don't want to spread some drama. And when the time is right, I'll tell someone. But we're just going to kind of keep those feelings in and just work.
Yeah, and I think in a sense it's a good thing too, where it's like you don't let something, you put kind of that frustration, you don't show
Mhm.
that to that person where they feel like they have that upper hand, where it's like, oh, I can really take advantage or get after this guy. You just be kind, treat him the same as you would treat the way
Exactly.
you would want to be treated. um and that's a great way I saw that on I watched that on Ted Lasso, where they talked about that when Rebecca's dad died, and that was her mom's message to her, is, I'm not going to treat him any differently. I'm going to be friendly. Yes, I don't there are certain things that he did that to you that I don't like, but I'm never going to show anger or resentment towards him, because that's just going to be add fuel to
Hmm.
the fire. um but and then how did that that level of steadiness, you started playing sports, and you played football through high school. How did that help you with become a good football player? And how did you take those lessons that you learned on the farm and working? How did that translate to the football field, or how did playing football translate
So the
to
big thing
working?
I learned is like Lamar Jackson said it a couple years ago. Nobody cares. Work harder. I didn't want my success or hard work I put in the other day affect me going forward. I always knew every single day that I had to get better, and I loved playing this game so much. I didn't want to get complacent in that, and I knew every single day, um, you had to pay that rent check for hard work. And also with that, Dylan, I look at my favorite Hawkeye of all time and my favorite Viking, Chad Greenway. Where's Chad from? He's from a small farming community in South Dakota. He was an 8-man high school football player, Went to the University of Iowa, I think, as a 2-star recruit, and just worked, and eventually became a first-round draft pick. But after Chad's All-Pro years and Pro Bowl years, I can remember watching him in training camp in Mankato, and whenever they were done with the drill, and if, let's say they had to go from individual linebackers were always on either field 2 or field 3, away from the stands, close to the dorms. But then if they did an inside run session, guys like Pat Williams, Kevin Williams, Ben Lieber, EJ Henderson, all those guys, they're walking across the field. Well, what was Chad doing? He was jogging. He was sprinting. He was always the first one there. And I learned a lot from him in that also, where I said, no one's going to work harder than me. I'm going to say less, and I'm going to work harder than you. And I just always wanted to put my best effort in, because if someone beat me because they were better than me and they were more talented, that was fine. That's okay. But I wasn't going to let anyone outwork me, and I wasn't going to let anyone love this game more than I did. And, you hear, after some, sophomore, the sophomore year where, I was, played B squad, but then I was on the varsity playoff team. Going to the next year, we had some open spots on the offensive line. And, Coach Ash told me, hey, Grant, we think there's a spot for you here next year, but you got to go out and you got to earn that. And for me, that was a big deal. I was like, there's going to be 4 opening new starting jobs next year. I got to go out and I got to take this thing. But he's also told that to 5 or 6 other people too. And I wanted it more. And some of these other folks, they thought, oh, hey, I got this in the bag and it's easy. But I was like, nope, I'm going to work harder. I'm going to be dedicated to my craft, and I'm just going to stay steady. I'm not going to let a bad day affect me, in the weight room or a summer workout or a practice. And, good things happened. And it clicked real fast. And I got into that starting and playing role, first game as a junior, and I never looked back. But I always just kind of had that workman's craft that you learn on the farm, and, the culture that Iowa has, where, you break the rock. I have a sledgehammer. I've hit this stone 99 times. My hands are bruised. They're sore. There's shooting pains going on my arms because this rock is just not giving in. But on that 100th blow, that rock shatters. And it didn't shatter on that 100th blow. It was the 99 I put in before that. And I just kept working, and I was steady, and I didn't give in, and I wanted it. And good things happened.
So you talked about you were going to work hard. You weren't going to let any of that. What were some of the things that you did that, you talked about how you were never always the most talented. What were some of those things that you did in those summer workouts that helped you stand out to win that starting job and then never
I
look
think
back?
it was when we did like on the field work. I always had questions. I was always trying to get better. I seemed very much engaged. And I, talk about this on the other podcast. I tried to learn multiple spots, because I know in life, the more things you can do, the more valuable you are. At the same time, I was working as a kid. I could also, if the grocery department needed me, I could go and I could grab Ragu pasta sauce and fill that. I could run the backstock. I could fill the break room. I could get shopping carts. I could fill the plastic bags. Anything someone asked me to do, I did that, because I knew the more things I could do, the better it would be. So, on the field, I tried to learn 3 or 4 positions. So I'd have 3 or 4 opportunities out there to go out and play. And, in the weight room, I just kind of found a niche where this was something I really loved, and I pushed myself. And I made sure in the workout groups that I had, it was with people who I knew they wanted to work out too, and they wanted to get better. You weren't going you
You
could
had
push
somebody
me.
that could push you guys, and
Exactly.
you guys
You
could
know, I was
propel each
I
other.
was, over 6 feet in high school, and I'm squatting with the 5'9" running back and the 5'10" receiver, or the 5'8" and 5'7" receiver. They have a much more low center of gravity than me, and they don't have to go far as down when I'm squatting. But guess what? I wanted to be with them because I knew they'd push me. And then it's so true in football. You build that camaraderie and that brotherhood in that weight room where you're pushing each other, and you really find out who someone is when you're going for a new 5 rep max on squat. and someone fades out after one, or someone they're busting their gut and they get 6 or 7 instead of 5. Like I remember the first time I put 225 on there for a back squat. I think I was going into my sophomore year, so I was still a freshman. And I was like, oh, I'm going to try to get 5. I banged out like I think I got to 10. And then the next time I maxed out, Coach Esch said, hey, you know what? According to the math, you're going to go up to 295. And I got to 295 by 5. So he saw that in a span of 4 weeks, you're increasing your max by 70 pounds. You're still getting 5 reps, and just attacking the day every single day, and how much I wanted it. That was the big thing for me.
Yep, yep. Well, and then that how did that football, how did that translate into your, you talked about being versatile. You were doing all of that before when you were playing football, and it shows, and it's paid off where you've been able to. And now you started at right tackle. Were you ever moved to any other spots at all, or were there any other positions you were going to be playing
So
in a
in a pinch,
pinch?
I could play if we needed to. I could play left tackle. I could play right guard, or I could play left guard. Uh, mainly either right tackle or the 2 guard spots. And sometimes if we ever ended up playing someone who had a good 3 technique where they could rush on the inside, I would slide in there to take their best pass rusher away with that. So I pretty much learned every position except center. But that's a hard one to play multiple spots, because the cool part about our high school offense is we ran the shotgun, we ran the Oregon spread, while everyone else in southern Minnesota was wing T, I formation, tight under center. We were spreading you out, having a good time. So that center snap exchange was real important. um, there in high
Yeah.
school, and it's just kind of funny. The first time I went out to play right tackle was actually the first time I ever played tackle in my life. I was, primarily a guard, and we needed someone out there. They wanted someone who's a little more lean, a little more athletic than the guys we had inside at guard, and it just it was a match made in heaven, and it worked out for me.
Yeah. And then so how much, and I'm guessing you had to be an asset on the field too, because you talked about how you were always asking questions, you were learning,
Mm-hmm.
playing multiple positions. How much of a key was it for you to where guys came to you and asked you where you could point them, we're running whatever play, where am I going? How
It
often was
was
how beneficial was that for,
oh
as
it,
far as the
it was
coaches
huge,
looked
because
at it?
actually my junior and senior year, I did not play defense. We'd come off the field and coaches would ask, we'd want to have conversations like, hey, Grant, are they lining up in that even front like we thought, or are they switching to the odd front? And should we continue to slide to this 3 technique? Are they bringing that outside pressure from that the linebacker? Do we need to go out him and change our protection more? So it was cool, and I got that validation because I asked so many questions and I wanted to be a student of the game, where coaches wanted to talk to me when our defense was on the field if we had to make any adjustments. With that, and then also just the fact that they trusted me, like, hey, in a pinch, this guy can go from right tackle to left guard, and we know he's going to do everything right on inside zone. And when he's got to slide out, or he's got to take care of that nose guard on a pass protection when we're sliding to the 3 technique, that he can do that, and he's going to cut his split down, and he's gonna make the play when he needs to.
Okay. And now, so your football career ends. You had some interest to go
That
play
is
in
correct.
college. Is that correct? I have that. Okay. Where were some of the schools
So
that were
the biggest
interested in
school
you?
was Minnesota State Moorhead. Um, you know,
Okay.
Go Dragons,
Go
Division two,
Dragons.
NSIC, North Division. And actually, it's kind of funny. On my first recruiting story call I got from them, I was playing golf, going in the senior year at Minneopa, course there at Mankato, and my phone rings from a 218 area code. I'm like, who's calling me from a 218? I don't know anyone up there. So put my phone away, and then I get a voicemail, and It was their defensive coordinator. It was Coach Marty. I can't remember his last name, but his first name was Marty. He left a voicemail. I said, "Hey, I'm defensive coordinator, at Morehead State University. We talked to your head coach. He suggested that you could be an option and an asset for us, and then we'd love to talk and send you and see some of your film." So I called him back up, and then as soon as I went home that night, I got together from Huddle some film from my junior year and sent it over, and then they looked at it. They called me up and they said, "Hey, Grant, we'd love for you to come up in August for a visit of the campus." So I went up and I got I double dipped that day. That week, visited North Dakota State University, visited Morehead State, the campus itself, and then went on the football visit. Saw their facilities, talked to the offensive line coach and offensive coordinator, head coach at the time. They told me the program they were trying to build and the kind of characters they wanted to bring into their program. And they said, from talking with Coach Esch and talking to me, I was the kind of guy they wanted to try to build that program with. So had a great visit there. And before I left that day, I set up a visit to see them go back up again in the fall and watch a game on an official, a trip that weekend. I'm not going to call it official, unofficial at the Division II level, but went up there late September, and actually I played the game of my life the Friday before that visit. I don't think I had any mistakes. We put up 40 some points. At one time, I had to go inside and move to guard, and then we ran an inside zone play, and I had to scoop the nose because we were strong side to the defensive left, and I was playing left guard, and I had to. Our center was going to go up to the second level to get the linebacker, and I had to get that. I had to get the nose tackle. But I remember what I did. I cut my split down, and I got him, and we cut it backside, and running back took it to the house. And then it was just cool.
How
I
how
was a
how long
60
of
yard.
a run was it?
So, but this that
Oh,
position
okay.
versatility on a spot, they knew they could get me. So I went inside. I got that key block on that backside, and he takes it to the house. And just all in all, played a great game. And I was confident going to that game, knowing I had this visit the next day. I'm feeling good about myself. I'm thinking I'm gonna be able to play at the next level. Um, then went up there, and Moorhead. I think they played Bemidji State for their homecoming game. They came back. They got the win. It was nice to talk to the coaches the night before because I was one of the high school kids there whose team actually won the night before, so I was in a good mood. Minus the minus the 4.5 hour car drive from Mankato up to Moorhead. But the one thing that bummed me out about that Saturday is I wasn't in our locker room to watch the film because we'd always watch the game the next day. And of course, it was the best game I ever played, and I, got some nice praise. Like, hey, you know what? Grant, this is how you're supposed to do it. Castro did this, Castro did that. So I didn't get that. So I was selfishly a little bummed out about that. But just
You need
every
that
once
little
in a while,
gassing up
you
every
need
once
you
in a
need a
while.
coach to say, hey, that was a nice job, or hey, I trust you there. This is how it's supposed to be done, kids. So that was cool. The Division II level, and then also, a lot of the the MIAC, Division III, Gustavus, down there in St. Peter, St. Scholastica School up in Duluth, and then Wisconsin River Falls and Wisconsin Eau Claire.
Okay. Okay. What was the kind of the deterring factor of why you chose to go to NDSU over
So the big thing
play at
was
Moorhead?
is we had a lot of success down in Mankato. Every year I was in school. We went to the state tournament. We won it my freshman year. I wasn't on that team. We had a lot of success and we were a good football team. And Moorhead, they were a down program. They're trying to build something new. I didn't want to go from having all this success and having fun in high school to having to, fight and scratch and claw to get 2 to 3 wins a year with that. And then also, I was just kind of thinking about it. And at the time, I was, I think, 270 pounds. I was a big kid. You play offensive line in high school. When you're young, you eat a lot. You don't care what your body looks like. But then I was like, I don't know if I want to put on all this weight and all this work to get up to 290 or 300 pounds to play football for 2.5, 3 years, put in all that work and kind of miss the college life, the college atmosphere. So just kind of wanting to really enjoy college and have that college experience, and where I didn't have to put in all that work to win 2 to 3 games a season. Because if I was up there, I was going to give it my all. I was going to be all in. I wasn't going to quit the team because I wasn't playing or we weren't doing well. If I was up there, I was going to play football for 5 years. And you just kind of didn't want to put in all that work. And toured NDSU, and when I toured it, man, it was a beautiful summer day. Wasn't too hot. The sun was out. North Dakota State's campus was beautiful. I thought it was about the same size of Mankato. I liked the part of Fargo that we were in visiting, and I felt good. And at the time going into school, I wanted to go to school for athletic training. They had a great athletic training program where you could actually end up getting a master's degree in 5 years with that, the way they broke it down. I had a good visit with not the leader of the school, but almost like my counselor, I'll call it, like your high school counselor. Had a good visit with him, and really just kind of almost fell in love with it. I just had to convince myself that, hey, at 18, I want to move 4.5 hours away from mom and dad to go after this opportunity. And I had a couple classmates who committed NDSU, and when they did, I was like, there's going to be some people I know up here. I know I'll meet others, but if I need to, I can get in contact with my friends from back home. And one day I just woke up and said, you know what, I'm gonna do it, and it was the best decision I ever made. Mm-hmm.
Yes, I would agree. We so as much as you probably would have killed it at Moorhead, glad you took you retired, took the other route, and we end up meeting each other.
They told me, Dylan, of course, redshirt your first year. Depending on how redshirt freshman year goes, could maybe get some playing time, but maybe going into that third year, I could see an opportunity to get on the field there for 3 or 2.5 years. So that that would have been fun. But like I said, in hindsight, 2020, I made the right decision.
Yeah, for sure. And so then we start hanging out. And you were in college. You weren't playing football. But what was did you do anything outside of going to school? Did you work anywhere? What what were you doing when you weren't studying studying or work? Well, I guess I shouldn't say where did you work. I know where I know where you worked, but most of the people listening don't. But what were you doing when you weren't studying for school? What was Grant Castor's idea of fun?
It was pretty simple,
college?
dude. It was either me and you getting together.
Besides stripper and beer, strippers and beer.
Is the northern
I'm just
place
kidding.
I never went to in Fargo, but that's where everybody went. But man, it was a lot of the same stuff. It was you and I getting together, hanging out, playing a lot of basketball, throwing a lot of routes at the wellness center. God, those were the days. That was a lot of fun. Actually, we got pretty good at it. We got pretty good at it, and somehow, believe it or not, folks, out of this combination, I ended up being the quarterback.
Correct. Well, I'm only like 5'8", Grant's 5. Well, not 5'8", 5'10". Grant's 6'2". So just I was a receiver, or I tried to play receiver. I wasn't much of a receiver, but you know what? It was fun. It got the blood going before we worked out, and we did and in college we were hanging out one night, and we somehow looked. We were talking about we were talking about the wonders a college weight program does, and we start going on the internet looking to see if we can find a college football weightlifting program. And sure enough, there was one on Nebraska. Clearly, they haven't used it in quite a while. Maybe that's changing under Matt Rule, but we started doing it. We got big. Like it works. It works. And one thing I will say too is like, They talk about the lift. The lifting was the fun part, and it wasn't even on purpose, but
Oh my
the amount of
God.
food we ate doing it, it was like I've never like, and I was a kid that still like to eat a lot, but like you would work out so hard, you would just be
Dylan,
hungry all
I
the
kid you not, we
time.
were probably eating 4,000 calories a day doing that plan. It was just
Yeah.
incredible. And at the time, I think I was second year. I bought a meal plan for like unlimited plans for the first semester. I didn't do it the second semester. So when we're doing this University of Nebraska strength and conditioning program, I'm paying for all my food. But
Yeah.
God, I remember we were joking around saying someone definitely got fired doing this because this should not have been leaked on the internet. But
I'm pretty sure if I look deep enough, I'm pretty sure I have it printed off and I have it somewhere where if we
God,
wanted to
because yeah,
restart
dude,
it
we
again,
got
we
big and we
could.
got strong
But
fast. Like, they broke it down into was it 3 phases,
yep,
3 4 week phases. Oh my
yeah,
God.
yep. And we had to stop after I think it was 3 phases, and we had to stop after the second because it actually timed up like perfectly right when the semester
Mm-hmm.
ends, and I went back home to Dickinson to work, and then you
Yeah.
stayed there, so we didn't really get to finish it, but it was like, okay,
Well, and
I
dude,
I
it was crazy.
understand
Like, because the
how.
first after we got done with those first 2 phases, we got ridiculously strong and we got big. I remember one day I jokingly said, "Hey, I'm going to put 225 on the bench and do the combine lift. I just want to see." So one of my buddies who was also living up there in the summer, well, I shouldn't say one of my buddies, one of the guys I saw at the gym and would hang out at the gym in the summer because I was the only one living in Fargo at the time. Um, I was like, "Hey, could you give me a spot?" Thinking this is the first time I'm ever going to do this. I rep 225 20 times, and I'm just like, "Oh my God, this is not a joke." That's when I knew that Nebraska's the Division 1 weight program was legit. I was like, "Oh my God." I felt so good and so cool about myself. I was like, I'm one of the strongest people in this gym.
That's the first time I've ever
Yeah,
heard this story. I did not know
yeah.
this. This
So
is
that
you learn
that was a
something new
lot of
every
fun. And
day.
then,
But so
of course, for work, the good old Fargo rental, where boy, I got some memories from that place. But it's funny. My buddy Jared was working up there, and he actually just applied because he found out about this company. It's a rental company, and two in Fargo. I think, well, two in Fargo, one in Moorhead, one in Grand Forks, and one in Bismarck. And Dickinson. Okay, that
there's
must be
one
a
in Dickinson
newish
too.
one because I don't think there was one
Yep.
in Dickinson when I was working for him.
Um,
Or was there? Okay.
there was. Yeah, there had to. I don't know how long they've been there, but
But
they've
yeah,
been
so
there
actually my
for
buddy
for a
Jared, he
while.
he got a job there and he said, "Oh yeah, Grant, you should apply." So I went down to the store he was working at, which was on I think was it 25th Street South, somewhere just south of 13th Ave in Fargo. So I go, I fill out an application, phone number, thinking, hey, a good part-time job. They can work around my schedule. I got rent to pay for. It's this time in college when you need to make some money. 2 days later, I get a call. Hey Grant, this is Rick from Fargo Rental. Saw your application. Want you to come in for, if you could come in for an interview. At let's say Wednesday at 2 p.m. Sweet, yep, I'll be there Wednesday at 2. So, I drive, go into the building, drive in, say, hey, I'm Grant here for a 2 o'clock interview. And the guy at the front desk goes, what? Oh, I got an interview today, for a part-time job, 2 o'clock. My name's Grant. Oh, no, we don't have an interview for you today at 2. What? This got to be some sort of miscommunication. And then light bulb goes on to the guy behind the front desk. Oh, wait, you might have an interview at our 32nd Avenue location. Let me call them down there and see where your interview is at. I'm like, are you serious? I went to the wrong place, not knowing there was a second one in town because I only applied at this one that
Yeah,
Jared told me to
right.
go to. Oh, yep. So he calls. Yeah, Grant, go down and see Rick down there on 32nd. He gives me the address, so I go down there. I'm thinking, there's no way this guy's going to hire me. I mean, I'm screwed. I showed up to the wrong building. I didn't ask, hey, what's your address? a dress, thinking that's what you should do when you go in for an interview. Luckily, I was wearing a Minnesota Twins jacket, the one you'd see Gardy wear all the time when it was cold in April, and it was super, super thick.
Yep. Oh yeah.
So I
Yep.
walk into the front desk, and the guy sees the jacket right away, and he goes, "When I saw the jacket, we knew we were going to hire this guy." And I was like, "Whew, yes, okay, the jacket saved me." With that, and shoot, I probably worked at rental for what 2.5, 3 years of the time I spent there in Fargo. I spent quite a bit of time
Yeah,
there, and
you
actually,
spent quite a bit of
I
time
really
there.
grew within that company. They really grew to trust me, and the coolest part about that job, Dylan, is I learned so many new things and how to work so much new machinery. Um, I was, we were
Yep.
driving skid steers around left and right. We were loading excavators in the back of people's trucks. Um, you know, local of what? Oh yeah,
Like
that
avoiding
I'll
gas
get there.
lines.
Learn how to drive the forklift there. Who were putting together tables and parties for graduations. Those big 40 by 100 tents for if home furniture was having a sale where you got to pound the stakes into the ground. And of course, Grant being the biggest, strongest guy in the room, guess what I get to do? I get to pound all the stakes into the asphalt with the electric jack first, trying to just get a spot for the stake to go on the ground, and then hammered in there. I felt like I was a worker on the train tracks, tink, 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 getting these spikes in the ground. But it was a good workout, and I'm not gonna lie, when I was doing it in that hot Fargo summer sun with that humidity, it was kind of refreshing. Seeing everyone else around me, wilting away in the sun. It's hot. Of course, you got a nice tan. We had to have
Got a
jeans
nice
on,
tan.
steel toe boots. I got the cutoff on, but I'm just cranking away on this steak, and I was almost made it a challenge of mine. Like I'm gonna pound this steak into the ground, and these people are gonna look at me and say, "How's this guy doing it? Man, I'm exhausted right now. How's he doing it?" But to Dylan's point about avoiding gas lines,
Well, we'll tell this story, and then I guess this is a
yes.
good way
So
to end the
we're
podcast.
the big thing we did is we put up canopy tents in people's backyards for parties, birthday parties, weddings, dinner rehearsals, whatever you want to do it. So we go there. We call the guy, "Hey John, this is Grant and Brad. We're coming in Fargo Rental. We got your 20 by 30 tent, four round 6-foot tables, 32 chairs, some linens, a wet bar. Life is good. All right, sweet." So he takes us out to the backyard. He says, "Yeah, this is kind of where I want it, guys." And then we're like, "All right, just a heads up, it's going to have to go here. We're going to have to put 1, 2, like I think 16 stakes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. No, 10 stakes into the ground in your backyard, sir. And we're going to have to go about, they're going to go about 3 feet into the ground. So just a heads up, we'll repair the hole in your yard when we take the stakes out." All right, yep, sounds good. So he goes inside. Me and my coworker Brad, we put the tent up, and this is the first tent we put up just ourselves because our company, we had a guy who was kind of the main tent guy. But it was a busy weekend, and this was the first one that we were doing by ourselves. We lay the tent out, we put it up. Stakes are in the ground, wet bar, table, chairs. They're in the backyard. This backyard's looking good. The tent's nice and tight. It ain't going anywhere. So we're about to leave. We tell the guy, "Hey, John, we're leaving now. The tent's up." And he comes out and he says, "Hey guys, it looks pretty good. The best part about this is you missed the natural gas line here in the backyard." What? There's what in your backyard, dude? "Oh yeah, the natural gas line." So you're telling me I have a 3-foot wooden stake and a sledgehammer. I'm
10 of them.
pounding this thing into the ground, and I could have hit your natural gas line and killed everyone in this house and destroyed your whole community. Like, are you kidding me? We just
No
looked at each other like, "You've got to be kidding me." Like, there's a gas line in this dude's backyard, and he didn't tell us to watch out for it. Like, we should have called the Gopher 511 or whatever. Call before you dig.
Yeah.
It's funny. And then
Yeah.
after we put that
No
tent up, we called my
kidding, but
boss. "Hey, we're on our way back." And he goes, How is it? When we left, we go, well, it was up when we left.
Yeah, that's the way to look at it.
It was up when we left.
It's up when we left.
So that was funny. Plenty more stories like that from my time in Fargo. But no, that was a good little job. Working, meeting you and Ethan and a whole bunch of other friends, and then my friend Caleb I talk about all the time. Crazy to think that how a kid from Mankato could meet a kid from Dickinson, North Dakota, Wilmer, Minnesota, and Avon, Minnesota, and be three of his best friends to this day, 10 years later.
Three best
You're
friends
damn
that
right.
anyone could have, as Alan would sing. All right, Grant. Well, we'll be talking again. We'll be doing a full recap of the Sweet 16 Elite 8 weekend and full Final Four preview on Thursday. But thanks again to Grant for joining us. Check us out on all of our socials. This is a YouTube special, so it's going to be every Monday thing. At some point, we'll get Ethan back on, but we'll have a new one coming out next week. That wraps up this episode of Conversation Monday. We'll talk to you next time.